Welcome to Week 4 of the Mountain Valley News Pigskin Preview. I'm Monk Blevins, and today we've got Representative Nathaniel Ledbetter sitting in with us, and good to have you, man.
Hey, it's good to be here. I enjoy looking forward to it. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, and we're going to talk a little high school football, talk about last week's games, and then we'll talk about this week's games, and then we're going to...
I don't have to pick, though, right?
Yeah. You have
we'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, all the teams in my district who I'm picking.
Okay.
So
all right. There you go.
So we get that straight right off the bat.
There you go. Hey, I understand that. And then also we're going to have a guest picker come in here.
Good.
A little later in the show. So
all right.
Let's go ahead and start talking a little bit about last week. And first game we'll talk about. Ider traveled over to Sandrock and took a tough loss, 28-20.
Yeah. We keep up with Coach Tinker. Of course, Coach Tinker is a dear friend of mine, and I think he does an outstanding job. And of course, he's one of the kind of guys that you'd want your kid to play for because he's just a character, a builder. And that was a tough loss for them because my understanding was they got out to a 20-0 lead right there at halftime.
Yeah.
And wound up losing it. Of course, Sandrock, you got to give credit to Sandrock. It wasn't all, I'm sure, knowing that program, they've always had a good program at Sandrock and have won some state championships in football. So, Ider can't take it too hard because they played a good football team to the wire and had their chance to win.
Oh, absolutely. For Ider, Jacob Higdon had a good night, 58 yards on 15 carries and had a touchdown. Ryan Adams, who is the quarterback, he had 42 yards on 5 carries and a touchdown. So, the thing with this Ider team, like you said, they jumped out to a big lead. And second half, Sandrock shut them down.
Yeah.
They just wasn't able to move the ball. They made some good adjustments at halftime for Sandrock.
Well, one thing, and of course we all know this, looking back through the history of Ider and Coach Tinker, they're going to be physical. And I had listened to y'all's show Friday night. Y'all do an excellent job, post-game show. I think everybody needs to know it's on at 9 o'clock, and absolutely. I really enjoy that. And but listening to the post-game show, the interview for the Sandrock coach, he says, regardless of how Ider is as far as the year in and year out, you're going to get hit. They're a physical football team, and they always have been under Coach Tinker.
But this Ider team, they are playing well now, and like I said, I think Sandrock just to come out second half and made some adjustments, and Ider just couldn't seem to get it going. Like I said, jumped out 20-0,
Well, and the thing about it is, it's a tough region loss for Ider, but they're still in this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, it's going to be tough for anybody to unseat 5. We know that. Oh, yeah. And it's probably put Sandrock in a pretty good position to come and play at home in that region. With all things being said, under normal circumstances in that region, I'm not sure this year is normal, Mark.
You're absolutely right. I was just sitting here thinking about this region. You start looking at this region this year. Of course, 5 is at the top.
Right.
We all know that, and
deservedly so.
And deservedly so. But then you've got Ider, you've got Section, you've got Sandrock. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other, but Collinsville, that are all in that with an opportunity. Collinsville got their first region win, and big win for them.
It was.
And so, this region is going to turn out, this is going to kind of be like the 3A region has been in the past few years.
This is kind of odd. I heard y'all talking about it on your post-game show. The thing about it is, when you talk about the people that's leading in that region, of course, we always think about 5 being at the top in the last few years. And then Sandrock has always had a good football program. But then they're talking about the other night, there's 3 teams sitting at 2-0 in that region, and in between 5 and Sandrock is Section. And I guess, as the old saying ago, who'd have thought it?
Absolutely. That's again. Ider's right in the thick of things, and they'll be actually 5 will be traveling to Ider this week, and we'll talk about that game a little later. But that's going to be a tough game for them on Friday night. But we'll mention that a little bit later. But this Ider team is still in the thick of things.
Well, they are, and of course, to be honest with you, coming off a rebound loss and losing like they did, it's tough to have to face a 5 team.
Oh, absolutely.
But with that being said, I know that they'll be ready and they'll be prepared, and Ider needs to keep their head up. This is a new week, and it's going to be tough against 5. We know that, but with that being said, they've still got a chance to get in the playoffs and have a good run.
Oh, absolutely. Next game we're going to talk about is, Plainview traveled up to Pisgah, and I felt like Plainview probably could win this football game, but the score was probably a little bit surprising to me. They shut out Pisgah 42-0, and and by the way, they are the Mountain Valley News Team of the Week. So congratulations to Coach Dusty Goodwin and the Plainview Bears on being our Team of the Week this week.
Right.
But this Plainview team right now is playing some pretty good football.
They are. I mean, this is a senior-laden team. I think I had seen where they got 23 or 4 seniors, which is for a small 3A school is unheard of for almost. And they all of them contribute in some way. But the thing that I've seen, I've got a chance to watch Plainview play, is how much the Dukes kids matured as a quarterback. I mean, he's always done good, but this year, boy, he seems to have really come on his own. And then getting some support from Clay Cooper in the backfield, and him being able to run the ball, and then be able to be diversified as far as what the runs and their throwing. I mean, when I watched them play, they spread folks out and threw some quick outs and had success of just making people miss.
Yeah. I was looking at some of their stats, and very even on pass and run, and when you can do that, that it's hard to defend both.
Well, it is, and that's the thing is, the thing they got with their offense, it is hard to defend both, and when they're almost 50-50 on the run versus the pass, that's great. And then you throw into that equation, if Dukes hadn't got it after you go through progression, he doesn't have anybody open. He's very capable of tucking it and running it.
Oh, absolutely. Probably one of the better runners in our area.
So that adds another dimension to that offense.
Absolutely. And again, he had a great night throwing the ball, but Clay Cooper just had an outstanding night for Plainview. He rushed for 233 yards, had 4 touchdowns on the night. And by the way, he is the Mountain Valley News Player of the Week. So congratulations to Clay Cooper.
And the thing about watching Clay too, he's kind of like Dukes to me. He's just gotten stronger and more mature, and he is doing a good job. I mean, that team is full of athletes.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at him, you look at the Willingham boy. I mean, you look at the Wootton kid's probably the best linebacker, not just in DeKalb County. He's probably one of the best in North Alabama, and maybe one of the best in the state of Alabama.
I think you're exactly right. And I think we talk a lot about Plainview, talk a lot about Plainview's offense and the good job, and they've done an outstanding job. Clay Cooper and Bailey Dukes and Chase Broyles and all those guys, But I think you've got to give a little bit of credit to Plainview's defense too.
Yeah, I mean, they've played good. And over the past couple of years, Plainview's defense has kind of been their standard bearer for the team. So I didn't expect anything less. And the thing about it is, when you can line a kid like Wootton up on the defensive side of the ball, and he is as dominating as he is, I mean, it's just hard to. I mean, the kid is just so physical, and he's a big kid, and but the thing about him was he's got good feet, he's quick, and he gets to the ball, he reads the play very well. So he is certainly a force to be reckoned with on that defense.
Absolutely, and Cade Willingham, just excellent on defense also, and just he's just an all-around athlete, and we probably don't talk near enough about Cade Willingham and what he means to that football.
No, I think we talk about it, and I've heard y'all talk about it on the show about Cade's ability on defense, how well he plays on defense, but then they line him up at that wide-out position, and they throw those quick passes to him, and I've seen him time again make kids miss, And when you're in a situation, if you don't have anybody over the top and you make the guy in front of you miss, you can make something happen, and they do that. I mean, they've been successful with that.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Plainview was the Mountain Valley News Team of the Week, so congratulations to them. They'll be actually Geraldine will be traveling to Plainview this week in another big region game. We'll talk about that, but Plainview's sitting at 4-0 and with an opportunity to go to 5-0 on Friday night. So this Plainview team is I tell you what, you start looking down the schedule. And, Sylvania's coming up in a few weeks. And, probably if things go like, and we love to be able to sit here and speculate when the teams can't really do that.
Coach Goodwin and Coach Putnam probably don't want to hear that.
No, they probably don't. But, Sylvania and Plainview probably undefeated in that region when they meet up October and I think it's the 13th. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But, man, what a great football game that could wind up being. Yeah,
but then, Sylvania's going to play a very good Crossville team.
Absolutely.
In between that, which I know it's not a region game, but And, you know, from what we've seen last week out of this Geraldine, or not last week, actually, they had a tough week last week, but the week before last, out of this Geraldine team, you know, they're one of those teams that could just about beat anybody in that region on any given night.
That's exactly right.
I don't think, you know, there's certainly, I know the coaches and players are not looking past that to that game, but a lot of the fans are.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and like I said, it's nice to be sitting right here and we can do
that's
that.
right,
and,
exactly.
And we can't get in trouble for it too much anyway.
No,
I mean,
no.
the coaches they may not like what we're saying, but that's okay.
Right. That's right.
Next game we'll talk about. You know, Valley Head got their first victory of the season as they defeated the Alabama School of Deaf 33-20. And you know, when we talk about Valley Head, Roger Kirby had an outstanding night for Valley Head. He rushed for 191 yards and had 2 touchdowns on the night, and you know, a big win for this Valley Head team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's always important to get that first win of the year, and Valley Head should be commended for doing that. I mean, you know, last year they brought in a new coach, and he's tried to put his program together by the way he does things, and it always takes a little bit of time.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
You got to give those kids credit for the win, and you got to be excited for them, because I think that's, you know, now they've got some momentum moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, we've talked about this a lot. You know, getting that first victory, that just does something for you. You know, going out the next week, and you know, you kind of look forward to getting out there and practicing, getting ready for that next game. You know, they'll be facing off against Spring Garden. They'll be traveling down to Spring Garden, and you know, Spring Garden, they won big last week, but you know, they're struggling a little bit this year. So you know, that could turn out to be a good football game. We'll see how that shakes out. You know, the next game we'll talk about from this week was the Collinsville Panthers. They traveled down to Gaston and you know, got that first win for Coach Ernie Willingham. You know, and got it convincingly, 41-0.
Right. Yeah, and Coach Willingham does an excellent job. Of course, I've known him a long time, and he gives me a pretty hard time most of the time I see him.
Oh, yeah.
Riley Edwards, I talked with him. You know, he goes to church with us.
Right.
And I had spoken to him a little bit about their team, and he said, you know, we got some really good athletes, but they're really young.
Yeah.
So the thing that you'll see, I think, with this Collinsville team is, you know, we've seen up earlier that you're playing a lot of young kids. But as the season goes on, those kids are going to start to mature. And then we're going to see them improve, I think, week by week. You know, Coach William's been around a long time. He does an excellent job. He takes the talent he's got and molds them into the team that he can.
Absolutely.
So I look for good things out of this Collinsville team.
You know, talk about Collinsville. Caleb Jones, who plays quarterback, he accounted for 5 touchdowns in that football game. Mason McKinney had a 73-yard touchdown on the night, and the defense scored. And you know, just listening to what Coach Willingham had said, you know, he said his defense is starting to play better. You know, they're starting to you know, recognize what they need to do.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we're talking about, Monk. I think it's just the fact that he's playing with a lot of young kids.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, this Jones, you know, the Jones kid's going to be special.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a 10th grader now, or is that right?
I think he's 11th grader this time. Yeah.
So he's just now getting, you know, he's getting his feet on the ground probably. I know he's played a lot of football already, but we're just going to see him get better and better, and the young kids around him is going to continue to improve and get better.
And you know, when we talk about him, you know, he played wide receiver up till last year when the other quarter, Grant Jones was hurt, and then he stepped in at quarterback, and so he's still relatively young at the quarterback position, but he's a very talented athlete, and you know, I'm with you. I think this Collinsville team will get better and better. You know, they'll be playing Asbury this week, supposedly at Asbury, but that means they're playing at Collinsville because Asbury doesn't have a field. So very winnable football game for Collinsville this week. You know, next game we'll talk about. You know, Geraldine, man, they took a tough loss to Sardis. 46-27, but you know, again, Geraldine, David White had 67 yards on 12 carries and a touchdown. Thomas Willoughby had 54 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown. Geraldine is very capable football team.
They are, and you know, I don't think this loss shouldn't be too hard on them, because listen, the quarterback was back, and we know how he played against Plainview, and if he's playing against Sylvania, that's probably a different game too.
Absolutely.
So I don't think, I mean, they played a very good Sardis football team, and one that went to Madison Academy, which hadn't happened a lot in a long time for anybody. and beat
Won that
a
football.
Madison Academy team. So I don't think they can hang their heads too much on that game. But and watching over the past few years with Coach Waltrip down there, they're not going to. I mean, he's done a really good job at Geraldine, and I commend him for the work he's done, and they're just like he's like the rest of Benfield's disciples. Let me put it like that. They're going to be physical, and they're not going to make a ton of mistakes. And once they get the program established, we see them start to mold into a hard-nosed, strong, physical football team. That's what he's done.
Yeah.
So you got to give him credit for that. And I think we'll see them come back.
And the one thing that we don't take in consideration with Geraldine, they lost a lot of good football players from last year, and and I'm not sure anybody expected them to be as good as I think what they really are.
I agree. I think we hear that. We heard that in the offseason. Well, Geraldine lost a lot of players are going to be down, but then they come out and just start mashing people in the mouth. So
Absolutely.
I think that's just the style of Coach Walter and the job he's done.
Yeah, he has done a fantastic job, and I think this Geraldine Plainview game is going to be one of the better football games of the week. And if you're a Plainview fan and you're thinking you're going to go over to Plainview and see a blowout, I think you're going to be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going. Geraldine's going to give them their best game. I mean, let's face it, that's just the nature of the beast in this region. And when they play each other and we're in region play now, when they play each other, they're going to get their best game from these teams.
That's exactly right. Next game we'll talk about. Fife defeated Westbrook Christian 54-6, and what can you say about this Fife team? They just continue to roll after a big, I don't want to say big loss. It was a Jamboree game or similar to a Jamboree game, but faced a great Maplesville team. But from that point on, it's just been all Fife.
I had a chance to go see them play Maplesville and Montgomery, and I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of teams that's not going to beat Maplesville.
That's exactly
and
right.
I'm not talking about just in Class A or 2. I'm talking about all the way through 6A and maybe even 7A. But the thing, they've got a kid by the name of Nathaniel Watson that everybody needs to write that name down, because if this kid stays healthy and keeps his head on his shoulder, you're probably going to see him playing on Sunday somewhere, because he's got that much talent. And I think against Fife, and of course we all know how good Fife has been, and they still are. I think he had over 200 yards just in the first half alone by himself. So this kid's a tremendous athlete. And matter of fact, last year I got to watch this preseason game, and Tuscaloosa Central played with the kid that went to Alabama, Robertson.
Yes.
That Robertson kid.
Robertson.
And he may get to play some as a freshman. And I really think the Watson kid, athletically all the way around, of course I'm just as an observer,
Right.
but to me he was more athletic and more, he can play any position. They played him everywhere. So.
Oh yeah. He was a phenomenal athlete, and
Right.
no shame in losing to that.
No, not at all. No,
So,
no. And I think Coach Benefield, and this is interesting. I talked to a guy from Fife that knows football, and I'm not going to say who it was because he knows it well. And he told me, and he's probably right. He said, that's probably a good thing for them.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a good thing for these kids. I remember very well when Coach Saban won the national championship the first year. When he come back into the locker room, he told those kids that y'all hadn't done anything yet.
That's exactly right.
And that sounds just like what Paul Benefield's probably told these other kids.
And speaking of Fife, Seth Benefield had another great night. He passed for 108 yards and had a couple of touchdown passes. But I guess, when we think about Fife, or when I think about Fife, I think about Peyton Anderson. He did have a great night, but Brant Rowell, and, man, he had a phenomenal night. He scored 4 touchdowns. He had a 72-yard touchdown pass. He intercepted a pass and ran it back 48 yards for a touchdown. So just, the thing about this Fife team is, we talk a lot about the Peyton Andersons and the Seth Benefields, but they've got talent all over that football
Well,
field.
they do,
and young talent.
not just how they got it on the field. They got it standing on the sidelines. When we in Montgomery, they put the second group in, which would have been 8th and 9th graders. Man,
Oh, absolutely.
I was very impressed, and I've heard people at Fife say that could be his best group, and that's a little scary.
Yeah, the thing with this Fife team, and I probably have said this several times, but they remind me of an Alabama team, but they're of high school, because they've got so much talent standing on the sideline that if they were at any other school in the county or in North Alabama, they'd probably be starting.
Yeah, well, and that's true, but you still got to go back and you got to give Coach Benefield and his coaching staff credit for the wins. I mean, it's hard to win as many games as they've won, regardless of how much talent you got.
Yeah, you're right about that.
To keep them grounded and to keep them focused on what they got to do week after week after week, it just takes. I think they've done a tremendous job with that, and I certainly give all the credit to Paul and his staff for being able to do that.
Well, and again, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit right here, but, if Plainview can pull off a win against Geraldine this week, Fife will be playing Ider, and they pull off next week, Plainview and Fife will meet undefeated at Fife.
When we was growing up, that was called the Super Bowl of Sand Mountain. So it may come back.
Absolutely, and I think we've talked a little bit about it. And I'll mention this. It may happen, may not, depending on if both teams are undefeated.
Right.
But we may do a special show next week if both these teams are undefeated. It's been a long time since both come in undefeated.
Well, you was talking about doing the special show, and you and I talked about that, and certainly as a guys that's grown up around here, it certainly would be very interesting to hear some of the things that had happened in the Plainview Fife week with people that played for Coach Househaller and people that played for Coach Pruitt and people that played for Coach Thomas and people that played during those years.
Oh, absolutely.
All the sign painting and the bars being hung up and burned and all that. So it certainly would be. It would be full.
And I'm sure we could tell a few stories ourselves. So,
probably could.
That looking down the road, that could be another great football game. Moving on, we're getting up against a break, but we're going to talk a little bit about this Crossville Lion team. They defeat Arab 34-25, sitting top of their region. And
outstanding, just outstanding. I think the kids should be commended for what they've done, and they've bought in. I think the hardest thing for a coach to do when he comes into a program that's been down is to be able to get the kids to buy in. I really do. I think getting past. It's contagious, Monk, and you know this. It's just as contagious when you start losing, because if you get down, something bad happens to you. You say, "Here we go again." As it is winning, because if you're winning, you expect to win. If you're Fife, you expect to win on Friday night.
Oh,
so these kids in the past took up a few years. They've got down and they got used to losing. But man, the coach has done an outstanding job. The kids has bought in, and I commend them for what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blanton Jones had another great night, and I know we mentioned his name a lot, but he had 162 yards rushing, scored 4 touchdowns on the night, and he's just a phenomenal athlete, and and not the only athlete they got by any means. A lot of good players, and play really good defense, and Coach Miles Holcomb has just done an outstanding job with that program. And like I said, they've bought in, and people in Crossville are excited about football.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that. When you and I were playing or back in our day, that was another lifetime.
Right.
Crossville was always one of the top programs in this county, and to see them get back and be excited about what's going on, I think the thing about it is when the program starts doing well, I think it just kind of it goes through the school and the community,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Next game we'll talk about Sylvania. They traveled over to New Hope and got a big win, 35-0, big region win. Mm-hmm. And man, can't say enough about this Sylvania football team. Just playing great defense, mm-hmm. playing great offense. And again, Chris Shavers, who was the Mountain Valley News Player of the Week last week, mm-hmm. had another great name and was in the running for it again this week. He rushed for 201 yards on 7 carries.
Yeah, my understanding, he had a couple of touchdowns called back. One of them was the very first play of the game, went 70 yards, and he didn't get to count in those totals. Right. So, and then Sylvania's another one of those pros. We talked about Crossville and how the coach and the job he's done and they've bought in. People forget Sylvania won the region last year, but before that, a few years before that, they were in the same situation.
Oh, absolutely.
And now the kids in the community has bought in, and Coach Putnam's done an outstanding job. And man, I've had a chance to watch this team play. They're just a big physical football team. And I think they have bought in too, as well as what Coach Putnam's doing up there.
Absolutely. Blake Spears has done just stepped in at quarterback, and I thought has just played exceptional at quarterback.
Well, the Sylvania team going into this, and we knew that the interior line and the linebackers was going to be pretty decent, pretty good. Let's face it. But they lost one of the best running backs in the county in Caleb
absolutely.
Roebuck, and then lost their quarterback. So we didn't know, from a skill standpoint, we didn't know if they'd find the people to fill those shoes. But they have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Sylvania, they'll actually be playing. I'm losing North Sand Mountain, another big region game, and North Sand Mountain had a big win over Brindley Mountain last week, 39-7, to get back after taking a tough loss to Plainview. So that'll be a good football game. North Sand Mountain is not a bad football team.
They're
got
not.
Some athletes.
I watched them play Plainview. Was a little surprised, and they got in the fact that they'd gotten inside the red zone 3 times in the first quarter and didn't come away with any points. And now some of that's attributed to Plainview too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But the thing about it is, I think Sylvania will have to be prepared and be ready to play, which I think they will be. But because this is a region, I mean, if you can't get up for a region game, and I think they will. I think they'll be ready to play. But like you said, North Sand Mountain's kind of like Geraldine.
Yeah.
They're very capable of beating anybody on any given night.
Oh, absolutely. Austin Hill had a great night for North Sand Mountain. He rushed. He had 235 total yards on the night. Rushed for a 73-yarder and caught several long passes. And so this North Sand Mountain team, they're a physical. Against Plainview, I noticed their best linebacker did not play, the poor kid,
Right.
and and he's a difference maker on the football field. So. Great football game. That'll be a great football game up in Sylvania on Friday night. Yeah. And then the last team we want to talk about, and they just, what can you say? This section football team has just, Coach Powell has just done such a fantastic job with that team, and they beat Asbury 44-0, homecoming for them, and and let's face it, Asbury is down. New program, and they're struggling, but. I was over there for the first half, and watching that football game, you can tell this team is talented.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is Coach Powell and the staff that he's got, they had 20 days. I mean, think about that. Before they played the first game against Pisgah, they had 20 days to install offense, install the defense, and for the kids to learn out what their name is. And to be honest with you, if they don't have a turnover right before half when they're driving to score, they very likely could have beat Pisgah. And the thing about it is, it's kind of like we talked about with some of these other programs that's been turned around. The kids had bought in. Well, I think these kids were hungry. They were hungry for success, and you got to give Coach Powell them credit. They've done an outstanding job, and to be 3-1. 3 games, a win in the 3 games is actually more than they've won in the past 3 years combined, or as many as they've won in the past 3 years combined.
And talk about section. Tanner Baker had another great night. He had 63 yards rushing, scored 3 touchdowns. Lane Carter had 57 yards and a touchdown. And I guess to me this is probably the most impressive stat of all. The defense had another shutout on Friday night. In the last 3 ball games, they gave up a total of 6 points.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the thing is, not only did they just give up 6 points, but they've had 6 interceptions.
Right.
And 2 of them returned for touchdowns. Absolutely. So in the last 3 games, the defense itself, not the offense, have outscored their opponents by 12-6. Yeah. So, of course, the offense has been scoring touchdowns, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter who you're playing or what classification, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, absolutely. And when your defense is only giving up 6 points the last 3 games, it doesn't matter who you're playing. That's hard to do. It's hard to allow 6 points in 3 football games. And I just again, I am very impressed with this section team. They'll be facing Westbrook Christian. Westbrook Christian's got some talent. They're a good-looking,
very good-looking football team.
But I think this section team has got an opportunity.
I think they have. But the thing is, if section could win this game, I don't know how long it's been since they've been in the playoffs. It's been a while, I'd say. I think you told me.
Yeah, 2006.
The first time it was 3-1. Yeah. So I don't know how long it's been in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I'd like to look
but it's probably been longer than they have, I bet. But the thing about it is, if they could pull this game off, then they're 1 win away from being in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's unbelievable. But then let's look at Westbrook a little bit. I mean, they've played 3 very good football teams. And like you said, I got to see them against Fife, and they're a good-looking football team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's against Fife, but then they got beat by Sandrock, which is a pretty good football team, and then Glencoe. So, the section will have to be ready. I mean, it'll be a challenge for them.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about this week's games, and then we're going to get our special picker to come in and sit with us, and we'll talk about these football games, and then right at the end, we're going to pick these football games, and if you want to bail out, that's okay.
I may bail out. I may just bail out and let your guest picker pick.
All right, we'll let our guest picker pick. So we're going to commercial break.
Hello,
we'll
folks. This is Andy White down here at Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City in Fort Payne, Alabama. I want to invite everybody to come out to our new location. We're at 1411 Glen Boulevard, right where you turn to go on Airport Road. We've got plenty of inventory for you to choose from. I got cars, trucks, vans, sport utility vehicles of any make and model. Come down here and visit us. Let us see what we can do for you. If you got some slow credit, I've got some banks that'll take care of that. We've got great financing, got a great selection of cars. Y'all come down here and see us.
Don't take the first deal that comes along when you can do better at BobbyLedbetter.com and Twin City Used Car Sales, located at 1411 Glen Boulevard in South Fort Payne.
Listen to some of Johnson's satisfied customers.
Everything exceeded our expectations. No one will ever work here other than Johnson. We give them an A+. The crew was awesome.
This is the third company that installed a unit in my house and the first that did it right.
Don't you want to know what type of person is working at your home? All of our employees must pass a background check and are subject to random drug testing. We won't send anyone to your home that we wouldn't trust in ours.
Call Johnson Heating and Cooling today, Alabama's largest and most awarded TVA dealer.
At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, we excel within the walls of our bank and outside these walls too. We're actively working with area schools to improve classrooms and supporting area student athletes on fields and courts. We work and worship at most churches in the Rainsville community. We also work to enhance the lives of area seniors, thanking them for a lifetime of contributions. We're the bankers and corporate citizens at First Southern State Bank. True community banking.
All right, we're back, and we've got our guest picker. This is Mr. Jonathan Phillips, and he is the director for the Tech School. Jonathan, good to have you today.
Well, it's great for y'all having me on today. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah. Being able to pick some games, this is exciting.
Oh, absolutely. He is one of the sponsors of our show, man. We appreciate the Tech School, and he's done a fantastic job. You can't say enough about what they have accomplished over there, and like I said, man, we need this Tech School because they're giving some kids some great opportunities to go out into the world and make a great living.
Yeah, they really do, and it's been a pleasure of mine to support the Tech School and the programs they've got and see the growth in it. It's phenomenal, and it's contributed to union staff, and we both know that we've got to fill a void with skilled labor, and we're trying to pass bills and put the money into those programs to make that successful.
We appreciate all the support that Representative Ledbetter you've given us. It gives our students here local an opportunity to learn the skills and trades that are needed for our economy here, and not only in DeKalb County but the entire state. And gives them great opportunities to make a great salary.
Absolutely.
And what better than to keep your kids close to home and to have a great salary?
Yeah. I have opportunity now. As I travel more than I used to, and to talk to different people across the state. But to certainly talk about the success y'all do and have, but I think people, especially kids, misunderstand sometimes success. I think success is being happy with what you do. It's not about having the high dollar car or the high dollar home, but it's being happy with what you do. And I think y'all are doing things to make young men and women become productive citizens and be successful in life.
Yeah, I can't say enough about my staff. I think I have some of the best instructors in the entire United States. And we have some great students here in DeKalb County that come in, work hard, and they're goal oriented, and they're driven by those. And you see it every day by the awards that our students are winning.
Right.
Absolutely. I can't say enough about how great our students are, and that says something about Sand Mountain and DeKalb County in general.
Absolutely.
And Lookout Mountain that we look at. That's how we raise our kids to work hard.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little football. We're going to briefly talk about each one of these games, and then we're going to come back. We'll have to go to one more commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll pick these games. But the first game we got on tap, we got Crossville be traveling down to Douglas, and this Douglas Eagle team struggling. They're 0-3 right now, and playing this Crossville team. We talked a little bit about it. They're clicking on all gears, and Blanton Jones has done a phenomenal job. So what's your thoughts as Crossville travels today?
Well, we've talked about Crossville a little bit earlier on, and the kids have bought into this program, and the coach
Miles Hawkins.
Coach Holcomb's done an outstanding job, and his staff and the community has really gotten behind these kids. So, yeah, I think this they're going to come back 4-0 is what I think, and be a big showdown between them and Sylvania.
Oh, absolutely. Jonathan, what do you think about this game?
Hey, it's hard to not go with a hot hand here in Crossville. My goodness, Miles Holcomb and his bunch, Jake Peak and Danny Smith and all that group, Dusty Darnell. Anybody that knows me know they have a lot of connections down at Crossville. I'm happy for these guys. I'm happy for the community. Like you said, the community's excited again.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's great to see. So I see Crossville winning big over Douglas.
Yeah, I think you're right. The one thing you think about this Crossville team, and Coach Holcomb steps in last year in the summer, takes this program over, and you see the improvement just right off the bat last year. And as the season went on, we started talking about this Crossville team, what we thought they were going to turn out to be a really good football team.
Absolutely.
And so he has stepped in and done what several other coaches had stepped in there was not able to do.
Well, if you go back and look at this Crossville team, and they were in the region they probably should actually be in, which would be in this region in Class 3A.
Right.
We'd be talking about them about winning the region championship.
Oh, there ain't no doubt about it.
Being
No
in the
doubt
run
about
for
it.
it for sure.
Yeah.
But even with that said, I think they got a very good chance of getting in the runoff in the Class 3.
I think you're exactly right. Next game, we got Fife will be traveling up to Ider. This Fife Red Devil team, just loaded with talent. Ider, they come in. Of course, they took a tough loss last week. They've got 13 seniors on that team, and this is going to be a better football game than some people may think it will be. So, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Coach Tinker's going to have Ider ready as anybody can be playing Fife, and I'm not going to pick that game because both of those teams are in my district. So I wish both of them could win.
Yeah, yeah.
He's going to leave the hard decision.
That's
for me.
right. That's right.
Well, we'll come back and pick them in a minute, but I just think with this Fife and Ider game, of course, Fife is, and I hate to say this, but truth's the truth, I guess. Fife is heads and shoulders above most of the teams in our county.
Well, Fife has gotten himself in a position right now. It's kind of like we talk about, if you get used to winning, then you expect to win. Well, those kids expect to win.
Oh, absolutely.
But on the flip side of that, the teams that's playing Fife,
don't expect it.
Yeah, and I think, that sometimes there's a mentally thing, the block there with the thinking, oh my goodness, we got to play them again. So, I think that comes into play.
Absolutely. The next game we got Geraldine will be traveling to Plainview, and I think this is probably one of the better football games of the week. And Plainview comes in setting at 4-0, first time in several years. Like you said, loaded with senior talent. 23 seniors on that football team, and not only some good talent on there, but some good leadership on the football team too.
Yeah, the Geraldine. For some reason, there's been years in the past, the last couple of years, let's face it, I really thought Geraldine would give Plainview all they wanted. And I had a chance to win that game, but they didn't.
Right.
And I don't know if there's we talked about that mental issue there, but then they're coming to Plainview, and I know that makes it even tougher. But again, this is one of those games, kind of like we talked with Sylvania and North Sun Mountain. Geraldine's capable.
Oh, absolutely.
They're dangerous, and so who knows?
What's your take on this?
I think this. I agree with y'all. It's going to be an exciting game. Geraldine traveling up to Plainview. Like Clay Cooper. My goodness, he had an outstanding game other night.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm close to this group here because this was the last bunch that I coached when I coached at Plainview. This senior group. So I think they're going to do very well. I think it's going to be a great game, but I think Plainview may have the edge there.
Yeah. Next game we'll talk about, North Sun Mountain will be traveling up to Sylvania. North Sun Mountain gets a big region win last week, but Sylvania got a big region win, and another good football game, I think. But so what's your thoughts? And this Sylvania team is loaded with talent, and probably as talented a football team as Sylvania's had since probably Paul Benefield was at Sylvania, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we look back at Sylvania. I don't know if it's as much talent as far as skill in the skill position as it is just physical.
Well, true.
These kids are physical, and it doesn't matter if it's the running back or the linebacker or the big tackle, the Bowman kid. I mean, they're just a physical football team. And the thing about, I think what weighs in Sylvania's favor, of course, they run the double wing. And when they get into that thing on offense, it's almost like that they beat you up on offense, and then they turn around and you get the ball and they'll beat you up on defense.
That's
so
exactly right.
That, North Sand Mountain's going to have to play 4 quarters of physical football.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I agree. Sylvania's a very physical team. This, like I said, this may be the most physical team they've had since the Benefield years.
Oh, yeah.
And like Representative Ledbetter, they beat you to the punch from the start of the game to the last whistle's blown. Yeah. And it's going to be a tall order for North Sand Mountain to come in there at Sylvania.
Absolutely.
And take them on for 4 quarters.
Yeah. Next game, we got Collinsville playing Asbury. Again, this Collinsville team got that first victory, playing a Asbury team that's not, still building the program.
Right, absolutely.
And so, looking at this game, I would think, Collinsville wins this game pretty easy.
Yeah, the thing about it is you got to give the kids and the parents and the coaches at Asbury a way to go. I mean, they're wanting to build a program. They're working just as hard as the kids that's winning. And so I think in time they'll get there because Asbury's always had athletes.
Absolutely.
So we'll see them get there. But I think Collinsville, of course, like Ernie and I are good friends, go back a long ways, and I think he does a really good job. And he's had a young team to work with, but don't be surprised if you don't see Collinsville wind up beating somebody that they shouldn't beat.
Yeah, they do it every year.
Yeah.
Collinsville's a young team. They're on the way up. There's no doubt about it. Asbury, like you said, they're trying to build their program. They're working on it. They, like you said, they work just as hard or harder than anybody else. I was impressed with, they never gave up against Fife other week. They fought them to the end, and so I think this is going to be a good game, but I think Collinsville's just got too much for them right now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Next game, and I think this is another one of those great football games. Section will be traveling down to Westbrook. Westbrook, record-wise, not that impressive. But again, we talked about, they've played some great football teams already. Section, coming in and just probably the surprise team of this area as of right now.
I agree. They've got to be. I mean, if you look at, you get a coach that comes in that late in the season. I mean, we were talking about earlier, 20 days from the first game. They played week 0, which I'm not a fan of week 0.
No,
I think
me either.
But they played week 0. They had to play a 3A school and then one of their biggest rivals in that week after being there just 20 days. But then they've rolled off 3 wins in a row. The thing that I see in this game is Section has had an opportunity to work on Section.
Yeah.
And I think that's big for them.
Absolutely.
And going into, they played Asbury last week. So in reality, they had a week to work on Section. They played Westbrook this week. They got another week to work on Section.
Yeah.
And they needed that. I mean,
absolutely.
they really did.
They did. So.
Yeah, Section, this group here that Coach Powell and Ledbetter and all that bunch over there has been building, like you said, in a short amount of time. They remind me of some of these old Section teams.
Yeah.
Remember when I was in school?
Right.
They come in and play hard, and I think that they're going to do very well against Westbrook Christian.
Well, I think they've been able to get some of the good athletes at Section to play football who in the past hasn't played.
Right.
I think that's helped them tremendously, and again, this Section team is just. Has been just a surprise to me. Next game we've got Pisgah be traveling to Brindley Mountain. Pisgah took a tough loss against Plainview last week, but travel to Brindley Mountain. Brindley Mountain's another one of those programs that's struggled for the past couple of years. Played New Hope in overtime though, and so this could be a good football game. But I think hopefully Pisgah, I think they can get back on track this week. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, Brindley Mountain's one of the schools like we talked about Asbury. This is a very young program, and you continue to see them improve. I think last week against New Hope, we've seen that, or week 4 last now. I think it'll be probably a more competitive game than most people think, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a real competitive game, but I think the difference is going to be Pisgah in the second half.
Yeah. Next we got Valley Head traveling down to Spring Garden. Spring Garden, not as good a football team as they've been in the past, but in the past they've been a pretty good football team. Valley Head gets their first win last week. They have some talent. Roger Kirby is an outstanding athlete for Valley Head, and I think this is a close football game. What you guys think?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think Valley Head, has got a little bit of momentum going into this game, and it gives a chance for Coach Knapp. Am I right?
That's correct.
Coach Knapp has had a chance to kind of get his program established, and it takes a little bit of time, and so they've they're into how he does his offense and defense, and I look for Valley Head to be successful in this game.
Yeah, I think, but like you said, Valley Head got their first win last week. I think they got a taste of that victory there. I think that they're going to do well at Spring Garden.
All right. And then our last game we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go to a break. We got Fort Payne will be traveling over to Coleman. Fort Payne had a bye week last week, and sitting at 3-0, and after a tough season last year, but they've stepped back and got some athletes on this team, and just have played well. And right now in my brain, Penholster. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
This Penholster kid, who is a sophomore, has just about done everything for this Fort Payne.
He's something else.
And so, what's your thinking about this Fort Payne?
Yeah, I've had a chance to see Fort Payne play, and the Penholster kid's pretty amazing to be a sophomore. But we talk about him, but you forget about the Ellis kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Coach Ellis' son is just he's a coach on the field and just a tremendous young man. Of course, I talk about Fort Payne a lot. I mean, they do an outstanding job down there, and Mr. Cunningham has done a really good job with that school. But give Coach Ellis all the credit in the world. I mean, last year they had a tough year. Yes. I mean, for Fort Payne standards, because since he's been there, Fort Payne's had a really good program.
Hadn't had a losing record up to last year.
No, and the thing about it is, people probably didn't understand, but us being around it and knowing Roger like we do, he was telling me and you that they lost 22 players either to getting hurt, quitting, or transferring. Right. And you can't, as a high school coach, you don't get to recruit.
Right.
And so they get the hand it's dealt, but then they fought and they were in every game they played.
Absolutely.
And now they come back this year and they're reaping the benefit of their work.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I agree with you. Last year they struggled, but I think they built off of it. The guys are hungry. Coleman's a tough place to go play, but I just think Fort Payne is heading in the right direction right now.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick them. We're going to let Mr. Representative Ledbetter, we're going to let him sit out of this, and but we come back here in just a moment. We're going to pick these games, and we'll be right back.
Are you in the market for a new or used vehicle? At Donahue Chevrolet, we have over 400 vehicles priced to move. Our new Chevrolets are employee price, plus you keep all the rebates. That means savings as high as $10,000. From the moment you walk in the door until you drive off in your new vehicle, we guarantee a sales process that puts your needs first. And don't forget, our on-site GM certified technicians are always here to ensure there are many worry-free miles in your vehicle's future. Come by Donahue Chevrolet and expect more from your local Chevy dealer.
College is more than an education. It's a bridge to your future. Plan your future. Envision your future. Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
How do you show love? With the big things? The little things? The tough things? Your everything. Show them you care. Alpha Insurance.
Welcome back in, and all right, Jonathan.
All right.
It's that time to pick. Our first game on the docket today. You got Crossville traveling down to Douglas. Who are you picking in this?
This is the fun part of the show where we get to pick who we think is going to win. I say Crossville's going to roll big at Douglas. I expect the Jones kid, Blanton, to show out, and they put a lot of points on the board against this Douglas team.
Oh, absolutely. I think Crossville wins this game.
I don't care to pick that.
All right, go ahead there.
He's going to join us now.
I'll pick Crossville.
Yeah, there ain't no doubt in my mind Crossville will get their fourth victory of the season. And, how long has it been since Crossville was formed?
It's been a while. It's probably been when I was teaching down there.
And you go back and look at those programs they've had. I mean, you had the Bobo and that bunch in 84,
84, 85.
Win the state championship. So they're excited.
Yeah. Next game we got, Fife will be traveling up the Ider. Jonathan,
You know, it's hard to go against my buddy Tinker up there, but I'm going to have to go with my alma mater. I'm going to pick Fife in this one.
Yeah. You know, Tinker has done a great job up there, and they got a good football team this year. But,
yes.
You know, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Fife is head and shoulders above everybody else. Wouldn't matter who they were playing on this schedule. Fife probably going to win that football game, and I'm going with Fife for the win. Next game, we got Geraldine traveling to Plainview, and I think this is a phenomenal football game. Who you got?
Oh, I think this is going great. This is the game that I'm looking forward to the most out of all of them. I think Plainview is going to take Geraldine.
Yeah. I'm picking Plainview. I think this game can be close, and, you know, the one thing with Plainview, they can't get all caught up in, you know, thinking about, hey, we're going to be undefeated traveling down to Fife next week. And so,
right.
But if they keep their head on and are, you know, got the right frame of mind, I guess, as I'm trying to say, I think they beat this.
You know, we talked about that, you know, before. You know, this could be a huge game. You know, if both of these teams can come in here undefeated.
No, absolutely. North Sand Mountain at Sylvania. Jonathan?
I'm going to go with Sylvania. I think Sylvania is just too strong on the line, and they're going to control this game and win big.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with Sylvania, too. Defensively, you know, Nick Ledbetter's done a fantastic job. Coach Putnam has done a fantastic job, and you know, I'm impressed with this Sylvania football team.
I am too. They're very physical.
I think they win big this week. Next, we got Collinsville and Asbury. Who you got in this one? I'm
gonna go with the Panthers. I think Collinsville is gonna take care of business against Asbury.
All right, Mr. Ledbetter, you can pick. Oh, absolutely, no doubt. I'm going with the Collinsville Panthers, and you know, I think they get their second win, and
right.
You know, who knows what happens to them down the road there. Next, we got Section at Westbrook Christian.
Hey, I'm going with my buddy Coach Powell and his bunch of lines. I think they're going to win big at Westbrook Christian.
All right. I think you can pick this one.
Yeah, I know. Section. I think this is a game that they've got circled. I really do. I think this is, if they can get this win, I think it's going to put them in a pretty good position to finally make the playoffs for the first time.
I think you're right, and of course, I had the opportunity to read Bum's article just a little while ago, and he said this was his upset of the week. He says Section will beat Westbrook Christian, and I think he's right. I think Section wins this football game. You know, what I've seen, physical on defense, and just, again, play really good offense, and I think, again, this is surprise team of the year.
You know, I think they're going to impress people.
I think they get a big win on Friday
I do too.
night. Next game we have Pisgah at Brindley Mountain. Who you got in this?
I'm going to go with Pisgah over Brindley Mountain. I think they're going to take care of business, get back on the winning track.
Yeah, I think Pisgah. I think it's going to be a closer game in some think because Brindley's playing better football, but I do think Pisgah wins at the end.
Yeah. Right. Next game we got. Did I pick that one? No, I'm sorry. I got to pick that
picked
one.
It yet.
I'm picking Pisgah. I think Pisgah bounces back this week and gets a big win.
Right.
Next we got Valley Head at Spring Garden.
Hey, I'm going to go with Valley Head over Spring Garden.
I'm going with the Tigers.
Well, I'm going to step out. I'm going to have to go with Spring Garden. I'm going with Spring Garden just because they're playing at Spring Garden. And sometimes those home games, you know, help you a little bit. So I'm picking Spring Garden, but I hope I am wrong on that game. And then the next one, we've got Fort Payne traveling to Coleman. Who you got in this one, John?
I think Fort Payne's ready for this one. I think they're going to go down to Coleman and take care of business.
I think Fort Payne gets the first test, the real test. They've been in some tough games, but Fort Payne and Coach Ellison get to see how far they have developed as a team and as this year. But I think Fort Payne wins this game with the number one kicker in the country, nation, hitting the winning field goal.
Oh, absolutely, and that's kind of what I think. I think Fort Payne gets this win. You know, I like that they had the opportunity to have the week off before this football game to start preparing and give them 2 weeks of practice on this. And I think you'll see a big win for the Fort Payne Wildcats this week. You know, next we're going to jump into a couple college games. We just got just a few seconds here. Auburn at Missouri. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Auburn. You know, Missouri's got a defense that's very weak right now, and Auburn's still trying to find their place on offense. But I still think they're going to take Missouri.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Auburn. You know, the thing about Missouri, I don't know if they can score against Fife. So
I think you're exactly right. You know, I know both offenses are struggling, but Missouri struggles on defense. Auburn's got a great defensive team, so Auburn, I think, wins that football game. I'm going with Auburn. Alabama at Vandy.
I'm going to go with Alabama. You know, I know Vandy's much improved, but they just ain't got enough horses in the stable to compete with Alabama.
I agree. I think Alabama wins this by a couple of touchdowns, just like Jonathan said. I think they got too much depth and too much talent.
Absolutely, and I'm going with Alabama. But I will say I think Vandy right now, and something I have to change my mind, but I think Vandy probably is the second best team in the East right now.
You know, I'm not going to be surprised if they don't come up and upset some people that we don't think they're going to.
Absolutely. And then the last game that we got on here, and I think this is a phenomenal football game. We got Mississippi State at Georgia. Who are you picking in this one?
I'm going to go with Georgia just because they're at home. But I tell you what, Mississippi State impressed me against LSU.
Absolutely.
Well, Mississippi State's quarterback, he's phenomenal. He's really good. What was the guy's name at Georgia? The old announcer, Harry Carey. No, what? Munson.
Yes.
As he would say, I'd say, hunker down, you hairy dog. So I take the dogs.
I'm going with the Dogs too, but did I say which one? Because they're both Bulldogs. I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs. You know, last week I picked Mississippi State and upset. Only one that picked them. This week I'm going with the other Bulldogs. I'm going with Georgia.
I didn't think you'd mention it.
Oh, I had to get that in there. But, man, another great week of high school football, and we appreciate y'all so much for joining in this week. And, hopefully you get out this weekend and watch some great high school football and also watch some college football. And, again, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you back here next week.
Building your dream home is one of the great joys in life. At First Southern State Bank, we know construction and mortgage financing, putting today's low rates to work for you. As you and your family move closer to the completion of your new home, we know that your home is where memories are made and families grow stronger year after year. At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, Scott Kirk stands ready to tailor the right construction loans to meet your needs, along with our staff of experienced loan professionals. Drop by to share your dreams with us today in Rainsville. First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, all the bank you'll ever need.
Are you in the market for a new or used vehicle? At Donahue Chevrolet, we have over 400 vehicles priced to move. Our new Chevrolets are employee price, plus you keep all the rebates. That means savings as high as $10,000. From the moment you walk in the door until you drive off in your new vehicle, we guarantee a sales process that puts your needs first. And don't forget, our on-site GM certified technicians are always here to ensure there are many worry-free miles in your vehicle's future. Come by Donahue Chevrolet and expect more from your local Chevy dealer.